right, so I got everybody settled, and we are up and running, I believe. Let me share my screen with you all. So this is the first day for Group B to be in class. So I just went over with them that, expectations and things like that. Haven't really talked about anything we're doing today yet. This is the wrong agenda. We're on this day. So reminder that if you're in Group A or Group B, whenever you're not here, you need to be on the Google Meet so that you guys can be getting the information. If you're in the room and I'm not loud enough because of my mask or something like that, please let me know, okay? But I'll try to make sure I'm talking nice and loud. Same thing for you all on the video, okay? So today I wanted to remind you all that I went through and graded the No Red Ink. Or not No Red Ink. I'm sorry. I went and graded the entry document for knows and need to know. So that grade is in Echo. If you haven't submitted that, make sure you do. Also, what we did over at the end of class Tuesday and during the no class day Wednesday, you were supposed to make sure you had benchmark 1 complete. If you didn't turn that in, I put a 0 in. So you need to make sure you finish that. And for distance learners, especially, you're definitely going to have time at the end of class to finish that because I'm going to be doing what I did with you all at the end of class where we went outside. So you guys at home will have a little extra time, and you all in here might have a little extra time too. But for today, we're going to start talking about the Odyssey, okay? The book 9 of the Odyssey, in which we are going to be reading for this class, which are need to know that you all had concerning, how does ancient literature play into the creation of our superhero that we're going to create, or our hero that we're going to create for Big Bang. What are we going to look at? How are we going to be inspired? How did they make heroes back then, thousands of years ago, and how are we going to make heroes today for Big Bang, okay? So we're going to look at a map of the Odyssey. We're going to do a little PowerPoint workshop talking about introducing the Odyssey. And then we're actually going to watch some videos because the Odyssey's more than like 25 books worth of information. This epic, huge poem. And I'm not meaning epic like you would say today, like on YouTube with like epic fails. But I mean the literary term of epic poem, okay? An epic poem, which means a very large poem, is the Odyssey, okay? And it doesn't actually rhyme the whole time or anything like that, but it does have kind of a meter to it, a pace to it. And we're going to only read one book, number 9. So we're going to look at the first 8 books through some videos. This guy put out videos and does some like cartoons with it, so you can understand what happened in books 1 through 8. And then tomorrow we'll begin reading the Odyssey, okay, book 9. Now, at the end of class, I'm also kind of allowing you all to have at least 20 minutes of class time to work on No Red Ink. I'll be going over some No Red Ink as well at the end of class, and you need to be completing your practices before tomorrow because we'll have a quiz tomorrow. I'm going to give you a little bit of time tomorrow in class to work on that because I felt like Tuesday we were really rushed to get any time for No Red Ink. Kind of overplanned on Tuesday. So I will give you a little time to work, maybe 15 minutes or so. So if you have like one lesson left or you want to review, you can do that tomorrow. But we'll be working on No Red Ink as we go forward. So let's get started today. The first thing I want you to do is go into Echo, and I want you to go to our project, Civilization and Character Creation. And let's look at the map of the Odyssey, okay? So we talked about that for our hero, it can be fictional, but it has to be based in some facts, some historical fact, or based in geography fact, government fact, religious fact that we look through history. So how you find this is you go to the Odyssey materials. So anything we cover on the Odyssey will be in this, and you should be able to see 4 things, okay? We're going to do the map of the Odyssey and then introduction to the Odyssey today, okay? So let's look at this map of the Odyssey first. And this map shows us in the real world where this journey took place. Now, is this a real story? No. Could this have been a real person? Maybe, okay? And some of the events that they talk about might have happened, but they're staged thousands of years ago, so we're not really sure. We don't really have an actual history other than that it was said by kind of someone telling the story. It wasn't written down for hundreds and hundreds of years. Okay, so but what we do know is where they were referencing, because these were real places. Okay, so this is a map of the Odyssey, and we can see where it starts. It starts in Troy, and then will take us up north, and then around through the Mediterranean Sea, all around the place. Okay, so he's trying to get home from Troy. All he needs to get home is right there, right around Greece, a few hundred miles, not far at all. But he ends up, because of the gods, gets blown all over the Mediterranean, all over these islands and these different places. Okay, now if we looked at a real world map today, I absolutely love Google Maps. It is probably one of the coolest technologies, kind of coolest but creepiest technologies at the same time. I know that all of you all have gone to Google Maps and looked up your home address and zoomed in on your backyard. If you haven't, it's really interesting because they can get you like where you're going. But it is the most accurate mapping that we've ever seen in history with Google Maps. Okay, but if we actually look at where we are, so we're over here in the United States in Kentucky. And what we're talking about is over in one of the most important seas in the world as far as history goes, okay? The Mediterranean Sea, okay? So we're right here. We're right across the Atlantic Ocean. So we're over here. We go across the Atlantic to Europe, and below Europe, we see Africa. And then to the east, we see the Middle East, and then we see Asia. Okay, the Middle East is part of Asia, but we see Asia. Okay, so that's one reason that the Mediterranean Sea is so important, is because it connects three continents. Okay, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Okay, and we see his voyage. So if we bounce back and forth, oh, that's not it. We bounce back and forth here. We can see this image is the same as this image, basically right here. So he is going all around these real places that actually existed. Okay. Now, some of the things that happen in these places are very magical, and there's gods, and there's monsters, and all this magic. That wasn't obviously real, but the places are. So we can see how this is based in some fact with the geography. Okay, and the religion. While we know we might not believe in that religion, or it might not be factual today or follow today, it is something that the Greeks followed in a great way during this time. Okay, so you can always kind of have access to this map, and kind of as he tells a story, he'll mention a lot of these different places and what we'll see. So we'll basically hear his story leaving Troy, going to the Cacones. I thought for the longest time that was Cicones, but it's actually not. It's Cacones. And then we go down. This is Carvonen corrected me the first year we taught this. And then he'll go down to the Lotus Eaters, and then he'll go to the island of the Cyclops. Okay, so we'll see all this happening in our book or in our reading today. So that map is available to you. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to show you. The next thing is the introduction to the Odyssey, okay? So we're going to talk about the Odyssey. There are notes that I want you to take with this, because this is information you need to have for this project, okay? If you go in here to the introduction to the Odyssey, it will open up, it'll have a link, and it will take you to this page right here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open that up and give you all a moment to get notes out. Miss Stockdale showed me a pretty cool way to use Google Keep. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Google Keep. If you Google Google Keep, it'll take you to that little checklist. You can actually take notes in there and use your pen to take notes. If you really like writing on your laptop, then you're welcome to do that. We try to encourage you guys to stay away from typing your notes. So right now I should see you all either going to that Google Keep or pulling out notes like paper and pencil, or one of the two, because writing down notes helps you to remember, okay? And we need to practice that as we go, okay? So today what we're going to be talking about is the Odyssey introduction and background information. So I'm going to give you a second to work on that. I'll be right back, and then we'll get started with that. Or not get to work on it, but get your paper out, get everything set, title it The Odyssey Introduction to Background Info, and I'll be ready. I'm going to make sure everybody in class is good to go. So who needs pencil and paper? Who needs pencil and paper? We got 1, 2, 3. Anybody else need that? Okay, I'm going to go grab that really quick. If not, then you should be taking notes on your computer, not just sitting there.
I'm going to try to do this on Jamboard today.
Okay, and I did it to where things are underlined, but they need to take notes. So that was kind of my way to.
Let's see how this works.
Yeah, that works.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Because on like Monday or Tuesday, I just wrote notes on the board, but you all couldn't see them if you were at home. So we're going to try this. It's going to be trial and error. And then if you're here, you can just write your own notes. But I like to model it.
Why do you say that we're going
to Mr. Richard,
Yes.
can you explain why you don't like them to type notes?
So the reason, let me get on the screen, and then I'll explain it. Who else? Anybody else need? You need paper and pencil?
I got a pencil.
There you go. All right.
It's pretty cool, y'all. If you use Keep, you can write your notes on a page, and it'll like type it for you, so you can read the writing later. Just a thought.
So the question is, why do I prefer you to write your notes instead of typing your notes? Okay, so there have been many, many studies. One was done by Harvard in which they tested people's ability to memorize or remember, okay? And one group, they had them just read it. One group, they had read and type. And one group, they had read and write, okay? And the function of having to write, their research showed that they remembered better because they were having to use both sides of their brain, okay? So one side of our brain when we listen or we read is more the logical side, okay? The side that is just saying so that would be I think it's the left side of your brain is the more logic side, okay? Which is actually this side because it switches. Anyways, while the right side of our brain is more of the creative, artistic, and in writing, you're having to type into that or tap into that because you're having to use your motor skills to be able to write. So it's kind of a different way. You're using your brain in more ways, making it last longer in your brain. It makes it more concrete, okay? When you just read something, you're not having to really think about it. Whenever you're reading and typing, it's less because those motor skills are just typing, and then whenever you actually write. So that's the reason we encourage you. Also, this is a great opportunity to continue to work on your writing skills because there will be classes someday or opportunities where you won't have a computer, okay? And you'll be forced to have to write, okay? Whether that be out in the field, like actually at a job or in a class. So it's really important to do that. So I really encourage you to be writing and using your handwritten to be able to take notes, okay? Hopefully that answers a question for you. All right, so let's get into this lesson. Click. There we go. I'll put myself way up here. So this is set during the ancient Greece, okay? And the ancient Greeks believed in the gods and religious customs. They play a major role in the Odyssey, okay? And I underline in this what you should be writing down, okay? So if it's underlined, so I won't do this all year long, but I want you to start seeing, okay, there's lots of information on the page. I need to write down what's underlined, okay? So a title here, The Gods and Religious Customs, okay? So there's a lot of info on here, but you only need to worry about what's underlined if you're writing it down. And I'll go slow. I think there's 12 slides, so we'll just go through this slowly, and we'll be good, okay? So the Greeks believed completely in gods and goddesses, okay? So this polytheism, we talked about polytheism yesterday, or no, it was Tuesday. We talked about it Tuesday, okay? Poly meaning many, okay? And theism being this religious belief, so believing in many gods, okay? And this was really important to the Greeks, okay? They believe that these gods played a role in their lives, okay? That every decision they made, the gods impacted their decisions, okay? Impacted their lives and what would happen to them, okay? And they believe that there was an active interest in human lives, okay? So these gods had an active interest in human lives, okay? They didn't just sit out in an altar and never look down or interact with them. So they believed that there was this interest in humans' lives, and it was almost part of their maybe entertainment or drive or whatever they might be wanting to do, okay? And they believed that the gods were like humans, okay? They believed they behaved in human ways. So I put gods equal human ways, okay? Meaning that they acted like humans, okay? They made mistakes. They got angry. They got happy. They wanted revenge. They wanted to get. They kind of were like humans in that way, okay? So gods are really important in this, and they're kind of human-like, okay? In the way they act. And then the last part of that right there is that respect was essential. It was really important that you didn't disrespect or dishonor the gods, okay? So it was really important for humans to respect the gods, okay? So we will see this theme throughout the Odyssey in which Odysseus will be disrespecting the gods, okay? And it's one of his major flaws is the fact that he is disrespecting the gods or going against what the gods clearly want, and he keeps getting in trouble because of that, okay? So respect was incredibly important in this Greek civilization, okay? And we can see that this really plays into their civilization throughout the reading, okay? Also, Greek culture equaled hero worship, okay? It was all about the strong, the powerful, the smart, the cunning, and throughout their history, their stories would be centered on these heroes, okay? So Greek culture equaled hero worship, okay? And we really see this in the Odyssey, okay? Because some of the things that Odysseus does while he's a hero, today we're going to kind of sit there and be like, that's not a hero. Like, he was a jerk just now, or he did a terrible thing, or he did this awful thing. So we're going to see how that civilization kind of changes their look toward a hero. Okay, so Greek culture equals hero worship. Okay, and we can kind of see a cartoonized image of the gods over here. And I'm assuming that you all probably heard of Zeus and Poseidon and some of these gods that we'll see interacting with Odysseus. Okay, good. All right, I'm going to move on here. All right, so on this one, this is another kind of keeping on with the gods and religious customs. The Greeks also believed in monsters, okay? These deities, kind of these demigods, if you will, kind of the second tier of gods. So the gods were up on high, and then the second tier were like these monsters, okay? Or mythical creatures. So the Greeks believed in these monsters. And all of these monsters listed down here, at some point, Odysseus will run into them and have kind of a conflict with them or kind of meet with them, okay? He'll meet with the Cyclops or the giant beast with one eye that are kind of lawless and chaotic. A siren, which is like a temptress that tries to lure him into his death. And then these two creatures will be on either side of a waterway, and he'll have to fight off these creatures like a hydra. The Cilia, which is like a multi-headed beast, and the Charybdis, I think is how you say it, this giant sea monster, okay? So we are going to be reading mainly about the Cyclops, okay? Now, you don't have to memorize all these names. Just know that the Greeks believed in these monsters, okay? Yes?
Like, who's seen Harry Potter?
We're going to talk about Harry Potter. Perfect, yes.
Okay, so you're going to see references to Harry Potter with these monsters. Who's seen Percy Jackson or read it? Oh yeah, lots of it in Percy Jackson. Right?
So Miss Stockdale is, if you can't hear her, are you on over there? No. Okay.
My microphone's on.
Yeah. Oh, your mic is
I'm
on.
on Jamboard, but I'm not
Okay, she was saying that you'll see these monsters in modern movies as well, like Percy Jackson or Harry Potter. Great examples. And we're actually going to talk about how Odysseus's journey is very similar to heroes like Harry Potter that we see today. We'll talk about that in a minute. Perfect. So, the Odyssey is an epic poem. So you want to write this in your note. Epic poem, okay? And this is a literary term. And this can be defined as this right here. An epic is a long narrative poem about a national or legendary hero, okay? So it's this long poem that goes over this great quest with many challenges and enemies and kind of magical moments that leads this hero to a great victory, okay? So this is a long narrative poem, okay? Something that is told over a series of stories. Now, ancient Greece produced two epics, and you don't have to memorize this. You know it's the Odyssey, but the Iliad and the Odyssey are the two major epics that will be produced from ancient Greece. Okay, that we still know of today. Okay, one of the reasons we only have these two is because the library of Alexandria burned, and these are two of the poems that actually survived the written text. Okay, that's a whole nother story, but that is why we have these two, and they're really focused on. Okay, so the Iliad and the Odyssey were both written by Homer, and this is kind of a sculpture depicting what they believe Homer to look like. But we have no actual proof Homer existed. Okay, they think he was blind because he has a bard actually in the Odyssey. A bard is someone that tells stories, kind of like he would have. And he describes that bard as blind and kind of hints at it being almost from his perspective. Okay. But there's no official information. We don't know where he's from or his birth date or any other information about him because it was thousands of years ago. Okay. And there's actually no information about him. But the key idea here is that epic poems are these long narrative poems about a hero. Okay. And the Iliad and the Odyssey are epic poems. All right. So the Iliad, this is before the Odyssey. Okay. So, huh? Was that too fast? We okay? Okay. I can go back for a second. Let me go back and just pause. So all you need is this underlined section and this underlined section. Now, if you get to the point where you're writing fast enough and you can add those details and you think something's really important, you're welcome to add that, okay? But I'm trying to get you to notice what is the most important part of what Mr. Richards is talking about. What is he spending the most time talking on? What's the most important aspects? All right, going on. So if you have seen, and I got to plug in my computer. Give me just a second. I should have done that while I was waiting. If you have seen the movie Troy, then you have seen part of the Iliad, the story of the Iliad. How many of y'all in the room have seen Troy, the movie Troy with Brad Pitt? Only a couple. Okay. It's a really good movie. It's a little bloody because there's war and things like that. And it's a little mature. I think it's PG-13, though, I think. But it's a good movie and tells a good portion of the story of the Iliad. Okay, so this is kind of the prequel, you could say, to the Odyssey. Okay, and it is based on the Trojan War, which happened in 1200 BC. So that's over 3,200 years ago. Okay, now did the Trojan War actually happen? Did this story actually happen? We don't know. We do know that Troy existed. We do know that Sparta existed. We do know that there were wars amongst these Greek cities. But we don't know exactly if this is true or if it's legend or if what it is. So we look at it as legend that gives us a little bit of fact in our history, but a majority of it is fiction. okay? Because this story has been told and told and told and told, and actually wasn't even written until hundreds and hundreds of years after the events that it claims that it's talking about. So this legend was that the war began after Paris, and this is, anybody recognize who this is? Who the actor is? It's Legolas from Lord of the Rings. I can't think of his actual name right now. Orlando Bloom. Thank you. It's Orlando Bloom. And Paris would kidnap Helen. I don't know this actress's name. I don't know. But she was supposed to be the most beautiful woman in the world, okay? And he would kidnap her from her husband, Menelaus, who was the king of Sparta, okay? And this was, and what did we say a couple slides ago was really important in Greek culture? Huh? Gods were really important, but what do we have to do? We have to respect the gods, okay? And we have to respect others. So him taking Helen away from the king of Sparta was incredibly disrespectful, okay? And started a war, okay? He would build an army to get back his wife and restore his pride. So pride is another really important aspect of Greek culture, okay? Respect and pride, okay? Now, the story goes that Sparta thinks she was kidnapped, but Paris falls in love with Helen, and Helen chooses to go with Paris. And there's a little bit of gray area there on what truly happened, okay? Or what Homer is trying to say happened, okay? Now, we first see our main character of the Odyssey, Odysseus, in the Iliad, and he actually plays a pretty minor role in the Iliad. Like, he's not a big character in the Iliad, okay? He's just a soldier in the army during the Iliad, okay? He actually doesn't do a ton. He has one big role, and we're going to find that out in a second, but he really doesn't do a lot, okay? So the big idea here is that the Trojan War began because of this disrespect from Paris to the king of Sparta, okay? And we will see Odysseus for the first time as a soldier in the army. And if y'all heard of Achilles, the great warrior Achilles, who y'all have, Achilles comes from the Iliad, and he's played by Brad Pitt in the movie Troy. All right, continue on with our background info. So Odysseus is the king of Ithaca. Okay, Ithaca is a Greek island off of the coast of Greece, and he would think of a plan that was the Trojan horse. Now, you all probably have heard of the story of the Trojan horse, right? What happens with the Trojan horse? Who can tell me what happens with the Trojan horse? What do they do with the big sculpture of the Trojan horse? What's your name? What's the first name? Mason. Mason. What happens with the Trojan horse? Yeah. Yep. So Mason said the story. Let's watch a video. This is actually from the movie Troy. Take a minute to watch this video. And I'm going to play it to where. Actually, hold on. If you're at home and you just want to click on the link there, or if you just want to watch it as I kind of share it, that's fine. I'm not sure what'll work best for you guys.
It should work now.
Sorry, I'm trying to fix the volume. First time I've done this in the class, so. not coming to the TV, is it? No, it should be that. Oh, we did this. I tried this yesterday one time. Or not yesterday, but the day before. Yes. We got other videos to watch. I need to do this.
Guys, keep your seats set and good.
Hey, Mr. Richard, we can just watch it on YouTube. Just like give us the name of it, and we can just research it on YouTube. It's like letting us I research it, and it's like letting us show it on there if you want to watch it.
I appreciate that idea. That's not a bad idea. If you just go to Trojan Horse Scene Troy, you could probably find it. But I want my class to be able to hear it, so I'm going to try this. There we go.
The Greeks are praying for safe return home. This is a gift. We should take it to the temple of Poseidon. I think we should burn it. Burn it, my prince. It's a gift to the gods. Father, burn it.
All right, so you can see that you see that 10-year war would end. Answer that. So that 10-year war.
Everyone knows how the Trojan.
In there. That 10-year war would end with Odysseus's idea to gain access to the city. Okay, so he would be essentially rewarded and be praised for that. So now this would be an issue, though, okay? Because you saw in the beginning of the video where they kind of mentioned that this is a gift to the gods, like this is a gift that we should use it and respect the gods. But Odysseus and the men that did this would kind of dishonor the gods by attacking Troy using a gift to the gods. So you can see how the gods can get angry at this idea. So that kind of leads us into the story of Odysseus. After the city is sacked, Odysseus starts going home. But let's talk about the values of the Greeks. Okay, we kind of been mentioning them. Let's get these clear. And you just kind of write down the big ideas here: intelligence, glory, hospitality, loyalty, bravery. Okay, so this is what they wanted to be seen in their heroes. Okay, so number one was intelligence, and you can see that Odysseus, just from this part of the Iliad, that was a really, really smart move. It was risky. It was very risky, which is kind of where the glory comes from. It was very intelligent to offer them this prize and get them to let them into the city. The second part is that glory, okay, this fame, okay. So taking that huge risk and it succeeding would elevate Odysseus to this hero status, this fame that he had won the war, okay. He had achieved glory in his life because he was the key to victory for the in the Trojan War, okay. The third, and we will see this much more in the Odyssey, is hospitality, okay? Helping others, okay? And the videos we're about to watch that kind of tell us how this all plays out, it's going to hint to us how this works, okay? So hospitality, helping others, offering them food, shelter, protection, travel, was a big Greek value, okay? Because it wasn't like it is today where you can pick up a phone and Google Map and make your way to your next place. So it's really important if a traveler stopped at your home and they presented themselves, then you were supposed to be hospitable. You were supposed to give them shelter for the night and help them out. And that was a pretty big deal, okay? It was a duty, and if you didn't do that, it was fearsome that the gods, and there's also stories in Greek history in which gods would appear on people's doorsteps and act like a human, and if they weren't hospitable to them, then they would, endanger them or do something terrible to them or curse them. The next is loyalty, okay? Loyalty to your family, your community, to the gods, to your country. This idea that you fought and died and protected your family and you gave yourself to the gods. And then finally, the bravery aspect, having no fear and taking on the challenges that came before them. So all of these were very important Greek values that we'll see that Odysseus has, okay? All right, so let's talk about the Odyssey. A couple more slides here, not too many. So the Odyssey, Homer starts telling about the last days of the Trojan War. We know that. We kind of talked about that just a second ago, so you don't have to write that down. But the man responsible for the fall of Troy is Odysseus. If you haven't written that down yet, you need to, okay? The fall of Troy was Odysseus' idea. He came up with the Trojan horse plan, okay? Which was a great Greek value as far as culture goes, because it was brave, it was intelligent, it brought him fame, all these great things about culture, but there's a negative side, okay? Because it's going to make the gods angry. Because Odysseus was instrumental in the destruction, he angered the gods who were sympathetic to Troy. Okay, Troy had protected their walls for 10 years. Okay, and they were loyal to the gods and gave gifts to the gods and listened to what the gods had presented them in this story. Okay, so in Odysseus kind of tricking them and kind of using the name of the gods and an offering to the gods, it makes Zeus angry. And the gods vow that they will not allow for Odysseus' travel home to be easy. They're going to make it very difficult. Very, very difficult. And there's a picture of anybody know what movie that's from? Hercules. No, it's Hercules. Yep. Yeah. That's Hercules. That's Zeus from Hercules. He's very angry. One of my favorite Disney movies. Really liked it. So he will be angry and vow that he will have a very difficult journey home, and will cause a storm blowing the ship across the sea. We kind of talked about all this, so I'm going to go through this really quick. You don't have to write this down because this kind of sums everything up. He's going to encounter monsters, women who try to keep him from his wife, men who try to keep him from home, Odysseus always finds a way through intelligence, cleverness, quick thinking, bravery. This is the movie, The Odyssey. I think it's from like the 70s, maybe earlier. No, probably 70s. But I don't remember exactly when it was made. But all of this is going to lead to him trying to get home. Okay? So he is an epic hero. Okay? And this is the last, I think it's the last slide we need to do today. Because I know we covered a lot. So he's an epic hero. So an epic hero, you need to know this for your project, is the protagonist of the story, the epic poem. Okay? And protagonist means hero. Okay? The good guy or the good girl, the good person in the story. Okay? The person that is trying to do good or that the audience is trying to cheer for and help along the way. This character is brave and noble, does the right thing, admired for great achievements, affected by great events, and from Greek history, this is Odysseus or Hercules. Now, today, you could probably think of a lot of movies in which we have epic heroes. And this is, I'm glad Miss Stockdale brought this up, but Harry Potter is an excellent example of an epic hero, okay? And probably why it was so widely accepted in the world, okay, and did so well is because they wrote an epic story or an epic hero story from a kid's perspective, from a child's perspective. And he is a protagonist. He's brave and noble. He's admired for what he does. He's affected by these great events, just like these other people. And you can think about any superhero story. Think about Marvel. Think about Spider-Man and Captain America and all these Iron Man. All these people. You can see how these different aspects of their life or their story falls into this epic hero. Okay. We're going to skip this one. We're going to go. I'm going to skip this one too. We're going to look at this. Okay. This is taking longer than I thought. And this is what is most important at this point. Okay. So this is the journey. You don't have to draw this down. You don't have to memorize this. We'll be talking about this and I'll be referring this. So this won't be the only time we look at it. But our journey starts here with our heroes. So let's talk about Harry Potter, because you've seen this before. There's a call to adventure. So he has a normal life, right? He's just living his life, and he has a call to adventure. Who can remember from the Harry Potter movies, what's the call to adventure? What does he get to deliver to his house? The owls with the letters, okay? So the letters are this call to adventure. Someone's reaching out to him, and it's some sort of supernatural aid, okay? So these birds who deliver letters are flying in, okay? They take him away from that, and who actually shows up as a helper and a supernatural aid? Hagrid. Hagrid, out of nowhere, breaks down the door to this giant man and has magic and does these things, and he is a helper and mentor for Harry. And he goes through challenges and temptations and hardships as he comes to school. And then who's another helper along the way? What other characters in Harry Potter help him along the way? Hermione. Hermione's another helper, and she's kind of the brains and the wit. Who's another one? Ron Weasley, okay? Who's the teacher that helps him? Or the headmaster? Dumbledore, okay? Helps him along the way. And there's other teachers. And then he has this great death and rebirth and challenge moment, and each movie has one of these moments, okay? And they're all kind of tied into Voldemort. It's the climax of the story, kind of, yeah. In this moment where he's challenged. In that first movie, he has to go through the trials and get to the, what's the stone called? The Sorcerer's Stone. Good. And then he comes back and he's able to get it. He has this moment of atonement, or kind of he gets his revenge on the person that's trying to kill him or hurt him. He touches his face and Voldemort melts away and runs and everything. And then he returns back, the gift being that he lives, and he finds out that he's kind of the chosen one that is the enemy, and the story begins. And we can see each of the Harry Potter movies kind of do this every single time. That's why it was such a hit, is because it followed this. And the Odyssey is going to do the same thing, okay? So we're going to back out of this here. And I'm going to